Hello, amazing friend. Welcome to class. Our topic today is temptation and corruption. First, we're going to be looking at the meaning of temptation. Temptation means that strong desire to do something bad. And again, we'll be looking at the meaning of corruption. Corruption means dishonest, illegal, immoral behavior, especially from somebody in authority. Illegal behavior. This man is bribing someone to vote him during election. This is totally wrong. Temptation. Temptation is usually the handiwork of the devil. The devil has tempted some people that had cost them their lives. We should learn to pray against temptation and overcome it by all means. Lust and greed. Lust is a strong desire to have something, especially money, while greed is a strong desire for food, money, power than you need it. We should learn not to be greedy. We should learn to be satisfied with whatever we have. A Christian must not steal. As a child of God, learn to be satisfied with whatever you have so you don't face the consequences. As a child of God, we should overcome anything that will cause us stealing. Watch the video. I'll be right back.
Can you imagine? I put my best into this maths exam, and I still didn't pass. How about you?
This is really getting out of hand.
I'm sure the geek made it as usual.
Nope.
That's a lie.
Well, technically, I didn't fail. The lecturer failed me.
How do you mean?
Well, he failed me because I wouldn't play ball.
Play ball?
Seriously.
What?
Guy.
No.
What?
Don't tell me.
What are you two talking about?
The C word.
Oh, calculus.
Duh.
No, corruption.
Are you serious?
What do you think corruption is?
Powerful people lining up their own pockets with public money?
I hear you, but it's actually small-scale bribery that most directly affects the everyday life of Nigerians.
Really?
Yes. Because corrupt public officials decide who has to pay a fine, who gets access to public services, and as we know, who gets admitted to school or to pass an exam.
Now, wow.
And the recurring request for bribes by those corrupt officials has a toxic effect on the public administration.
How do you know all this?
I read it in here. The National Bureau of Statistics of Nigeria, with support from the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, UKAID and the EU, carried out 2 big corruption surveys in Nigeria in 2016 and 2019. And they were about the actual experience of Nigerians, not just opinions and perceptions.
But how many people really come into contact with public officials?
In 2019, almost 2/3 did. At least once.
That is quite a lot.
Well, it's a significant increase since 2016, when just over half did.
That's a good sign, isn't it? I mean, it shows that an increasing number of Nigerians have access to vital public services.
Yes, but almost 1 in 3 of them paid a bribe or were asked to pay a bribe by a public official. But the good news is that this is a slight decrease since 2016. Though the average number of bribes paid remained the same at around 6. Okay, this means that Nigerians paid a total of 117 million bribes in 2019. That's an average of more than one bribe paid by every single adult Nigerian.
What?
And more than 9 in 10 of those bribes were paid in cash.
Huh. How much are we talking about?
It says here that the average cash bribe paid was 5,754 naira, which means a total of roughly 675 billion naira was paid in bribes in 2019. That's almost as much as the combined 2019 federal budget for health and education.
So which public officials are paid the most bribes?
It says here police officers, public utility officers, tax officers, teachers, health workers, Federal Road Safety Corps, and vehicle inspection officers.
Wait. So those entrusted with delivering essential services are the public officials who receive the most bribes?
That's right.
And what about the people who pay bribes to those public officials?
Nigerian men are more likely than Nigerian women to pay bribes to public officials, especially men living in urban areas.
Wow. What about in the rural areas?
Men in urban areas are almost twice as likely to pay bribes as women living in rural areas of Nigeria.
Men of all ages?
Young Nigerian men aged between 25 and 34 are those most likely to pay bribes to public officials.
Rich and poor?
The wealthiest households in Nigeria are more than twice as likely to pay bribes as the poorest ones.
Wow. So why exactly do people pay bribes?
Gaining or maintaining access to public utility services, avoiding the payment of a fine, obtaining an administrative license or permit, and getting speedy access to medical treatment. Oh, and to pass an exam, of course. And some public officials even pay bribes to get their job in the first place. Almost half of all successful applicants for public sector positions admitted that they had resorted to bribery or nepotism or both to secure their job.
You are kidding me.
No wonder they may be ready to engage in corruption in the workplace.
Maybe they think they can get away with it. Just 1 in 5 Nigerians confronted with a bribe request actually refuses to pay it. And less than 1 in 25 bribe payers report the incident.
Why is that?
Well, the low reporting rate seems to be mainly linked to complicated reporting procedures, limited access to anti-corruption bodies, and the poor response of the public sector to reports of bribery.
So what happens to those who do report it?
They are either discouraged from pursuing it, there's an attempt to resolve the issue informally, or they simply never learn about any follow-up action. In some cases, they even suffer negative consequences.
Just for being a good citizen.
So what can be done to fight administrative corruption in Nigeria?
Nigerians need to see how the government's anti-corruption agenda can reduce bribery requests when they interact with the public sector.
Wait, shouldn't the focus be on the public officials responsible for the majority of the bribes collected?
Exactly. And since the surveys show that better educated people are more likely to refuse to pay a bribe than people with little or no formal education, it makes sense to increase investment in education, especially in programs aimed at improving ethics and values.
Among young people?
The surveys say an increasing number of young Nigerians find corruption to be unacceptable. So, yes, it makes sense to focus those programs on young people.
What about making the reporting of corruption less complicated and safer?
Good idea. That requires clear guidelines and procedures for handling corruption complaints throughout the public sector.
And what about disciplining officials who discourage citizens from reporting bribery?
That needs to be enforced. And citizens need to be made aware of the outcome of their complaints so that they're encouraged to report bribery again in future.
If most bribes are paid in cash, surely the development of web and smartphone apps would make interactions between citizens and officials less susceptible to bribery.
And make them more efficient.
True.
So what do the surveys say about issues specifically related to women?
Oh, okay. Nigerian women are less likely than men to pay bribes to public officials. And female officials may be less likely to take bribes than male officials. So, further research is needed to help improve understanding of how a gendered approach to public officials can help women's empowerment and reduce corruption.
I beg, how can I get a hold of a copy of that report?
You can find it online at www.unodc.org/Nigeria.
One last question.
Sure.
If you're so clever, why didn't you show the report to the lecturer before you did the exam?
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the video. Always learn to pray and overcome any temptation that comes your way. As a child of God, we should learn to do things right. Learn not to be greedy. Learn not to steal. Always stick to God. In prayers, He will guide you and see you through any temptation that wants to come your way. See you in class. Bye.